All right, back kick. Again, a bad position. For some reason, my back's sort of a threat. Maybe I'm opening my car door, walking to the ATM machine. I realize there's a threat behind me. How to drop the pattern? Again, if the threat were farther off, I'd run like hell. A little closer, I turn to face. It's just close enough that there's no time for me to turn, but I have to deal with it. So the truth is, naturally, you look over one shoulder. You're looking because you've heard a sound. You sense a threat in some way. I look over my shoulder this way because this is natural. From here, I want to deliver a strong kick. It's a stomp. Just like I stomp down, stomp to the side, stomp forward, I stomp back. I look, I make the kick. My toes point down as much as possible, but notice the chin. As I look over my shoulder, because as we said, that's natural. But I don't leave my chin over my shoulder to make the kick. Because in this position, your foot doesn't want to rise. So looking here is natural, but as I kick, I look around. I go from this position to this position, looking around my elbow. Here, and then, that action. Put the pad, please. I look, then I'm here. This dropping of my body helps my hips move backward. Again, weight is in the hips, power travels that direction. My shoulders can drop to allow the foot to rise. I look, and I look. Here, and here. As soon as I make the kick, I want to turn to face that threat. I'm going to give you two options for turning. One that's a little bit more, but it involves more athleticism. One that's a little bit easier and more acceptable, but slower. Or rather, less acceptable, but slower. So I look, and this is the way I prefer that you recover after the kick. I look, I kick, boom, and then I turn. As I'm recoiling, I'm already turning in my place, face the target. This is the preferred way of turning to face. So I look, I kick, and then I turn here. If you find this difficult, what you can do is kick, boom, foot down, and then you're turning. A little bit slower, a little bit more dangerous because you leave that leg there for him if you didn't stop him with your back kick. But also a little bit easier. So the preferred method of recovering, boom, boom. The, we'll say, second best method of recovering. Look, kick, boom, put your foot down, and turn. The commentary on the angle of your foot. Ideally, I'm going to turn my back to the camera. Ideally, when you make this kick, you want your toes to point down as much as possible. So I kick, and I want to see that. Look, toes down, there. This isn't vital. The truth is, your ability to keep your toes pointed down depends a lot on the flexibility in your hip flexor, in your abductors, basically in this whole area of your body. What you'll find, and this is true for me as well, and let's go to about this angle so the camera can see that. If you watch the kick, I'll have a tendency to roll my toes out slightly, sometimes to something like 45 degrees. So watch the pad, watch my foot on the pad. You can see my toes roll out a little bit because of flexibility issues. So I look and I kick. Boom. I look and I kick. Boom. And you saw there my toes were about like that. This isn't terrible. There are reasons why we like the toes down. Makes the kick harder to see. Makes the kick a little bit more difficult to block for the other person. But at the end of the day, it's not your toes that matter so much. As long as my hip travels back, straight to the camera in this case, as long as my hip travels back, that's a back kick. So I'm doing that. Even if I were to roll my toes out more, it would still be a back kick, as long as my hip travels straight back toward your right side. That's even a back kick. If I roll my hip out, this is a mistake. If I do this, then it becomes a side kick, which isn't a bad kick to do, but it's much easier for the opponent to see it coming because your silhouette changes. So we're fighting very hard to keep our hip in line and going straight back toward the target. And again, our toes pointed down as much as possible. This is a back kick.